Who will we see in the Battle Royal? Does someone from TNA win the Battle Royal? Does that set up Trick and someone from TNA? Does Trick pop up on Impact? Remember, they tape, so that's something you got to be considerate of. But Cody's saying that, you may know some of them. Some of them might be from different locker rooms. That doesn't mean somebody from Raw or SmackDown can't pop up. But the TNA thing is should continue. It's a good way to continue it. I'd be very intrigued if they went with Joe Hendry. Because Joe Hendry has been probably the most talked about TNA talent since Jordan showed up. Other than her, of course. Because it's only her. But I feel, and I know about Ash and Tatum at the pay-per-view, whatever. The person that's been brought up the most has been Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry. And Drew's talked about it, and they go back and look up that from ICW. It's great. Drew is this. This was when Drew was away from WWE after he had gotten cut, and he was working ICW. He was all over the indies, and he was starting to get that look and what he would become when he returned to WWE and NXT. And he is this menacing, mean, dominant part of ICW. And Joe Hendry comes out in his parody music and just crushes Drew, and Drew laughs through it. It's a very big pop song from the 90s. I don't want to ruin it. Go look it up. Joe Hendry, Drew McIntyre, ICW. I was a big Joe Hendry fan in those days because he was getting over for being super entertaining. And ICW was, fairly hot. Shit, Triple H showed up there once as a favor, and they had a work relationship that had that show on the network up until what, like 6-8 months ago, maybe a year ago. They certainly got wiped out by NXT UK and that UK boom going away, that European boom which hit, and then a lot of people got signed, and I see Grado's fantastic and everything they did, and they got hot. They had it for a while. They had figured it out. They sold out, the Hydro and all that stuff. That was really good shit for wrestling. And they knew how to work in a nice mix of people. Jeff Jarrett was there, and Drew was there, and obviously Grado became a big star for them. But Joe Hendry took advantage of those big shows and the opportunity because he was not a name, and then because he was not a name, and then that stuff happened, more people picked up on him, and he went through What Culture? What the hell did that become? Yeah, the first iteration. He was there for that, and when he definitely hit a bit of a lull, but then I think in the last couple of years with Impact and TNA, he's done a really good job, and I think he's starting to pick up a lot more momentum again and recapture what he had, but now doing it in front of a bigger audience, and now doing it when the company he works for is working with WWE. And one of the biggest stars in WWE is shouting you out, Drew McIntyre. So I am very interested to see if, A, Joe Hendry is in that Battle Royal, because he will be the most over person in it, and B, does he win? It doesn't make sense for babyface, funny Joe Hendry to take on Trick, but I think it does make sense to get him in that Battle Royal and then maybe get him in a story on NXT. That might be worth looking at. Who would you want to see from TNA in that Battle Royal next week on NXT? God, imagine like Brian Myers being in that, considering everything he went through, and he just pops back up. Eddie Edwards, Moose is the champ. Could you do, but then if he doesn't win, how do you eliminate the world champ? Unless that sets up a whole offshoot. I guess theoretically you could do that. You could have someone from NXT eliminate Moose, and then that person maybe goes and pops up in TNA. You could do that. I guess that would make sense. You know what? Once again, though, I think it's keeping it interesting. The idea, once again, of companies working together is probably more exciting, just as a thought than what they're actually going to do. I don't think anybody's look. If people were having the run of their careers or super popular, more people would be watching TNA. They'd go find it. It hasn't, unfortunately, because I know there is some good stuff going on there, but they're on Thursday. They're on Access. I know they moving their stuff around with their, app and all that stuff, but they just haven't recaptured it. And that's why I say, like, the idea of WWE's working with TNA, it sounds good. I don't think it's going to, Jordan looks like a star. Who else from TNA do you think can take such a big advantage of this spotlight? Who is hot right now in TNA? That's the question. That's why I said I've heard Joe Hendry's name the most. Yeah, sure, Moose is going to throw his name out there. That's what he does. But you're not hearing a lot of other names pop up. You're seeing WWE people who went through TNA go, hey, let's think about this. Drew, Chelsea Green, Meechin. That's cool. But I think that would have been a lot more exciting 15, 20 years ago. 15 years ago. Because of the names that were there. And that's not necessarily a knock on current day TNA. It's just, for a time, they were the number 2 company behind WWE. And there was a lot of good things that happened in TNA, especially under Jeff Jarrett and that regime. And then obviously things went in different directions with Dixie and Hogan and Bischoff and all that stuff. But a lot of good stuff happened, a lot of innovative stuff happened, a lot of stars. Hell, geez, go look at who's producing shows for WWE. Shit, AJ Styles is wrestling Cody Rhodes for a second time for the world title this weekend in Scotland. AJ cultivated that fan base, a lot of it, from his time in TNA. Selfishly, I hope they get access to the library, and maybe they will. And you can tell more complete stories of someone like a AJ Styles. Obviously, know the Ring of Honor stuff, and you don't have the New Japan stuff, but I think it would be very cool if they had access to the library and the digital team could do stuff with, like, AJ Styles. Watching his old stuff. Shit, let them watch the triple threat with him and Daniels and Joe. Who cares that they're in AEW? That kind of stuff would be fun. Drew watching his stuff when he was released from WWE and came back through TNA on the way. I think that would be cool. Shit, let Abyss watch stuff. He's producing matches. Let him watch. That would be... I hope that's something, if it hasn't been talked about, it can be talked about. I would think you guys would like that. I would think that's good for both sides. Let WWE put it on their YouTube. Let TNA put it on their YouTube. Who cares? And they can plug their streaming service and all that stuff. That seems like a no-brainer. Anybody in TNA or came up through TNA that's in WWE now, being able to access their footage seems like a moneymaker for both sides. And I think TNA would be happy to get some kind of deal in that. That's where we went from this Battle Royal. I mean, I'm just trying to think is how deep can this relationship go? How can they get the absolute most out of it? Stuff like that. Battle Royals, especially Royal Rumble, used to set up matches for down the road based on eliminations. That is what I'm, not only to see who wins the Battle Royal and goes on to face Trick, that's what I'm looking to see. What are they setting up? Are they setting up more crossover matches? NXT guys to Impact, TNA people over in NXT. That would be something I think I'm more intrigued about by the Battle Royal. Also, when people get eliminated and things like that. That is something to watch. Hey, this is Matt Camp. Thanks for checking out one of our recent clips from the Wrestling Mat. Why is someone so close to The Rock kind of throwing Cody over the bus?
Yeah, a lot of people won't engage with Jim Cornette. I did just because I have a mark for Jim Cornette.
Please subscribe right now. Hit the like and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. And I think you should listen to your TV partners.
Let me tell you about WWE and a little insight.
More subscribers means more content. And make sure you follow us on social media at WrestlingMat23 on both Twitter and Instagram.